All right, welcome everyone. So on the personal progress checks, the FRQs, and on some of the topic questions that AP Classroom wants you to submit a drawing. We're going to go over how to do that today. So here's one of the Unit 2 practice FRQs, where they give you a data set, and then it says, Part B, on the axes provided, construct an appropriately labeled graph with correct scale and units to illustrate the data in Table 1. So I'm going to go through how to do this using our Google tools, because I know that's going to work across the most technology platforms. So if I come over here on the image, I'm going to right click, and I'm simply going to copy the image. Then I come to my Google Drive. I go to New, More. We're going to pick Google Drawings. If you have a different drawing application that you like to use, go for it, but I know everybody has access to Google. So now I'm going to come to File, or Edit. There it is, Edit, Paste. And now here's the graph that was provided on AP Classroom. Now to label and draw on here, so we've got to make sure everything fits in this checkerboard pattern, so I had to resize my graph a little. I'm going to label my axes now. I come up to text box, and then I'm going to click and drag. So here I'm going to have the label for my x-axis. If it's something that needs to have numbers, so I can do 0, space, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'll make this even bigger. And 10. Oops, not quite. Let's readjust my text box size. So here's my label for the x-axis. Perhaps this could have been something, this were physics questions, I don't know, maybe we're looking at measuring. So maybe it's time and we're measuring that in seconds. This is an example of how to draw. This is not the correct answer to that question from the personal progress or check. I'm not referring back to that data. This is how to do things. So here's my label for the x. X is the easier one. Y is going to be a little bit more difficult, but not too much, but not too difficult. I need another text box. I'm going to draw this one off to the side for just a minute. Cannot type. So our label for y-axis, maybe we're looking at growth of something in centimeters. We know it'll probably start off at 0 and then 1. I'm going to go ahead and write my numbers up until 10, and then I'm going to adjust because, right, this isn't on the y-axis. What am I doing? It says over here off to the side. Right. To label this correctly on my y-axis, if you look at the little circle just at the top, when I move my mouse over it, I get a square, and now I can, if I click and drag, I can turn it. So I'm going to rotate my text box and then line it up along my axes. Now, some of my numbers aren't quite where they need to be. So now I move my cursor, backspace, backspace, backspace. Now 3 is lined up. Backspace, backspace, backspace. 4, 5 looks pretty good. 6, whoops, I did not mean to hit enter. Backspace, backspace, backspace. All right, 7, space bar. 8, space bar. 9, space bar, and then 10 needs a couple more spaces to move it to where it needs to be. So here we go. I have my X and my Y axes labeled. Now, there are different types of graphs that you might have to draw. Bar graphs or line graphs. Let's start with a line graph. I'm going to come up here to this line tool. Let's say my first point was at 4 and my second was at 5, so there's my line. I'm going to click here, whoops. And where does this line need to go? Maybe it stayed flat. There's my line tool, maybe then it needs to go here. And maybe it went to there, then maybe it shot way up, and then came down, and then went over, and then came down, and over, and there. That could have been my data. There would be my line graph. You do have options, so up at the top you can change the line color. You can also change the thickness of the line. If you want your line to be big and bold, or you want it to be different colors because you've got multiple lines, you can use this tool up here. To change one of the lines that we've already done, go back to your arrow. You can pick the line, say I want that one to be green, and then really fat so I can see it. That's how you would do a line graph. Now for a bar graph. For a bar graph, actually I'm going to delete my line. So I went to my arrow, I'm picking the line, and then I'm just using the backspace or the delete button on my keyboard. That way they're not in the way of our bar graph. For a bar graph, I'm going to come up here, do shapes. I'm going to pick a rectangle, maybe at time 1. There's my growth, 4. So again, shape, my rectangle, click and drag and move that bar to the appropriate size. You can also change the color of your bars by going up to the top, picking that fill color, and making it a different shade. Last thing you need to do is label this so that you can find it. Our next to last thing. So my graph is finished. I have my X and Y axes, and I have all the data graphed in an appropriate manner. Now I'm going to go to File, and I need to download. Let me double check what College Board will accept. It wants any sort of image file. So I'm going to File, Download. You need to do either the JPEG or the PNG. I'm going to do PNG. I'm going to download it to my computer. Then on AP Classroom, here's our question again. Notice it asked you to make a line graph with this one. I go to Image. I go to my downloads, or wherever you happen to save yours. I saved mine. Here's my test graph. And I open it up. I go, yep, that looks like what I want. And upload. And then there will be the response for your teacher to grade. I hope this has helped and that you will be more successful with posting images on AP Classroom in the future.